Welcome to the Prep Pigskin Report podcast, hosted by Papa Pig himself, Paul Rudy.
In the center, between Burt and myself, is a former NFL MVP, longtime NFL veteran, NFL broadcaster, and just a good guy overall, Mr. Rich Gannon. Burt, would you like to, being that you know Rich best?
I do.
Why don't you open the questioning?
Rich, so this is, we mostly go on high school sports here, high school football pretty much, and recruiting and all things around that. And, you and I played against each other, so just to make people familiar, you were not real. You're considered a better punter than quarterback coming out of high school, were you not?
I don't know. I like to think I was a decent quarterback, Burt, but as it turned out, I didn't punt in the NFL. I played quarterback, but sometimes you don't get the opportunities early in your career. You just got to keep battling, and that's kind of what I did. That was really kind of the story of my career in the NFL.
Were you considered the emergency punter if things went sideways during an NFL game?
Yeah, actually, I did some punting in practice and training camp because I was a left-footed kicker. So, we'd play a team that had a left-footed punter, and I would do that to help the return specialist. But I never actually got a chance to punt in the NFL, although I was a personal protector on the punt team my rookie year during training camp. So that was a bit of a shock. But for the most part, guys, I played quarterback and tried to stay upright and healthy.
I wonder if Tom Brady was ever the personal protector on a special teams ever.
Rich, that's a funny point because I was thinking if I would have told you that rookie training camp, and I want to get into the you getting drafted by the Patriots and then they wanted to make you a running back, but I'll get into that afterwards. But if I would have told you you were the personal protector in that rookie training camp, that you'd be the MVP of the NFL one day and two-time AFC Offensive Player of the Year and a slew of other things.
All-Pro.
The 2002 passing leader. Would you have believed any of that at the time?
I'd like to think so. I mean, I had a lot of confidence, Burt, in my abilities, just like you did, but I knew it was going to be a process. I played at Delaware. I didn't get a chance to play at Notre Dame or Penn State. So I knew there was going to be a learning curve for me. I got a chance to come in and watch and learn a little bit as a rookie. And so back then, they wanted to make sure that they got their money's worth. So the special teams coach, they needed somebody to be the personal protector because Scott Studwell, our longtime linebacker, was that guy, and they didn't want him doing it in training camp. And so I did it. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't fun. But covering punts is kind of what I had to do in training camp until I made the active roster.
It all worked out. Let's go back in time, though. Tell us about how hard were you being recruited that you ended up at Delaware? Were you one of those guys that was a sleeper, or were you fielding some offers from schools other than Delaware?
That's a great question. I wasn't the biggest guy coming out of high school. I was probably 6'2", about 180 pounds. And, back then, especially places like Penn State and Michigan and some of those schools, Ohio State, they were looking, most of those quarterbacks were 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 225 pounds. I didn't have that type of frame. I didn't play defense in high school, which certainly didn't help me because a lot of these colleges, they'll recruit you as a quarterback, but if they think you're a good enough athlete, then they feel pretty good about offering that scholarship. Because, back then it was a lot different just in terms of the recruiting. I did get a lot of letters my junior year from a lot of big schools in the East, a lot of Division I schools. I did receive a scholarship offer from Temple, Maryland at the end, but I had an older brother who went and played at Delaware. I would go to the games. I liked the fact that it was an excellent university from an academic perspective. They played a good brand of football. It was, about 16,000 undergraduates. It was close to home, about an hour and a half from my home in Philadelphia. So I just kind of fell in love with the place. Probably in hindsight, wasn't the best place for me to go if I had dreams and aspirations of playing in the NFL. But at that time, I just wanted to get a good education and play football.
You mean the wing tee didn't translate well to what the NFL offenses were doing?
No, it really didn't. And honestly, I came into the NFL, guys, I had no clue about protections and concepts in the passing game and reading defenses. And so I was fortunate to even make the team. I mean, I did make the team. I played well in the preseason. I was just kind of running around with my head cut off, just trying to make plays. I think they saw in me that I had some talent and you know, a skill set, but that I was just really raw, and I was fortunate to be able to get an opportunity to watch and learn behind two veteran quarterbacks.
So you would go to Delaware, and then when you got drafted, I think it was New England, right? And they wanted to make you a running back?
Yeah, they did.
So how much confidence do you have that you're going to just, I mean, right out of Delaware, small school rookie, and then you say, no, I'm going to stick with quarterback? I mean, did you ever have any second thoughts about that and just like, what am I doing? This is the NFL.
No, so my draft story was different. You know, back then, I mean, you know, we didn't have cell phones, so I didn't even have ESPN in our apartment. So buddies of mine had an apartment upstairs. We ran a phone line up this side of the apartment complex. I could have the phone there, and I got a call late in the afternoon from the New England Patriots, a guy named Dick Steinberg, who was their general manager, and Raymond Berry, he was the head coach at the time. And they called me and said, congratulations, we're excited, we just drafted you in the 4th round. And, you know, we just want to find the best position for you. And I thought to myself, like, why would you draft a quarterback and then say to him on the phone draft day that we want to find the best position for? I knew right then that situation wasn't going to be a good one for me in New England. They had a lot of veteran quarterbacks. They had Steve Grogan and Tony Eason and Tom Ramsey. So they really weren't looking for a quarterback. So I called my agent. I called my parents. I said, look, this is a bad deal. And we called the Patriots the following day, and I told them I was going to go to law school. My dad was an attorney. I was accepted to law school. I just thought, I'm not going to go to training camp, put on a different set of pads and a different, you know, shoulder pads and helmet, and try and learn to tackle or play a different position. I just didn't think I would make the team. Thought it'd be a waste of time. And as it turned out, 6 days later, they traded me to the Minnesota Vikings.
And it worked out. Well, while we're on, allow me 2 questions. I want to go back in time. Your advice for high school kids right now, because of the pandemic and whatnot, they're sweating because the phone's not ringing, or they weren't part of the first wave, and they're maybe not getting the contacts that they were hoping to get. What would you say to youngsters listening to this or watching this about the panic that is setting in right now for their, you know, for the kids that want to play at the next level?
Well, I'd take a proactive approach. You know, I would be as aggressive as I possibly can be. I think there's tools now in our toolbox to be able to, you know, get the message out to coaches, even a handwritten letter. And what I would say in the letter is just talk about what's in your heart. Like, I love football. I'm passionate. I want to play. I bring a great deal. You know, I talk about your character, your integrity, your hard work, your discipline, your dedication, your ability to overcome adversity. I mean, this is what I would bring to a football team. I think you have to sell them on that. I think you have to engage with your coach to be able to say, hey, coach, these are 4 or 5 programs I'm really interested in. I think you get onto campus and go stop by the football office, let them know you're coming. I just think you have to do some things that are a little bit different. I think, you know, going to camps, which I didn't get the opportunity to do, but I think if you can go to some of these college camps in the summertime and let them see you and let them get to know who you are, I think that's important. But I would always say this, there's always a place. And it doesn't have to be, you know, in the Pac-12. It doesn't have to be a top tier program. If you're a good player and you have a desire to play at the next level and you excel at your craft, they'll find you. I went to Delaware, they found me. I know people that went to Alcorn State or people that went to, you know, these real small programs. And if you're a good player, they'll find you. It doesn't have to be Division I. It could be Division II, Division III. But if you do the little things that it takes to be a successful student athlete, I think they'll find you.
Bravo.
Bravo.
Well, you're proof of that. I mean, Tony Romo certainly.
Joe Flacco.
Hey, can I ask one question? Just because Rich brought up Minnesota Vikings. Rich, you don't know this, but I'm a big Vikings fan. I was conceived at a tailgate party outside of Metropolitan Stadium back in the day. And I heard this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your father-in-law, it was the late Bill Brown?
Yeah, he's actually in the Ring of Honor, and he was a great player and a guy I really looked up to. Actually, I knew Bill Brown before I knew my wife Shelley. He'd come by the facility, come by the locker room, the training room. You know, played 13 years. He played in 3 Super Bowls. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler. He was a great fullback, a great runner, and a great captain. He played on special teams. He'd run down and cover kicks in his 13th and 14th season. He was originally drafted by the Bears, but one of the all-time Viking greats here in Minnesota.
He would have been a great Bear under that Papa Hellas imagery, but boy, I just remember the buzz cut, thinking that the high top cleats. He just spelled football as,
Yeah, he was a great player.
Conceived at a tailgate party.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's, my mom
Rich,
used to get around.
CYO, from CYO to pros to everything, who's the most influential coach you've had? Biggest impact? Any level? And why?
I would say my high school football coach, Jack Brank at St. Joe's Prep. He just had such an impact on me. I played with a lot of great coaches through the my college career, and certainly in the NFL. I played for a number of different coaches. I was in 4 organizations. But I just think that the impact that Coach Branca had, I still am very close with him to this day. To him, it wasn't just about football. It was about making an impact in the lives of young people and giving back to a game that had been so good to him. And, guys, back then, and Burt, I think about your coach at Carroll. I mean, these guys weren't getting paid like anything. I mean, a couple $1,000s for the season. I mean, it was a labor of love. It was a vocation. They enjoyed giving back to the game. They enjoyed working with young people. I know the head coach at the Prep right now, he makes 6 figures. It's a full-time position. I mean, some of these coaches in the state of Texas are making $150,000 coaching high school football. Right. Our coaches were making $1,500, $2,500 a season, and they were donating hours and hours to trying to help young people. So for that, I am entirely and forever grateful.
And it's crazy because mine was an 8th grade coach. You probably know Leo Carlin was my coach at St. Matthias, and it's crazy. 40 years ago, you still remember that one coach that impacted you the most.
In your guys' opinion, what makes a good coach? Is it that ability to connect, or is it X's and O's, or is it all the above?
I think there's a lot that goes into it. I think a person of great character and integrity is important. I think a good communicator, a good teacher, a good listener. I mean, I've been around some coaches that it's their way or the highway. I think it's important, especially as you get up into the high school or the college and the NFL level. You want to be able to give some feedback. You're professionals for a reason, and I just think that's important. And I just think that somebody that can relate to the players and at any level, I think it's important. And I also think it's important to realize, even at the highest level, it's a game, and you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy what you do. And I just think that the coaches that I've been around that have fun out in the practice field, have fun in the meeting rooms, but still get their work done are the ones that usually you enjoy spending time with.
Rich, I don't know how much you keep up with high school anymore, but the biggest thing to me is, do you think, and if you do you think kids, I mean, it seems like kids spend so much time chasing these individual position ratings and stars and everything else that it seems to dominate how good the team did as opposed to how many stars I have. Do you see that a lot or no?
Yeah, I do. Burt, I had 2 daughters that were D1 athletes, and I get it. I mean, I know that sometimes the club team in some of these sports is more important than the high school team. So, and I get everyone's is anxious to get to college and to find the right fit. But I think if your focus is on individual accomplishments, then you're missing the point. And I just think, and not only that, but it doesn't resonate well with recruiters. I think someone who's all in, someone who's a team player, someone who's selfless, someone who's willing to make sacrifices for the greater good of the team, someone who's willing to go play defense or a different position if it's going to help the team. To me, because when I sit down, if I'm a recruiter, I talk to the high school coach, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear about not a guy that, was more concerned about the press clippings and about being all state or all city. I want to hear about a player that loves to practice, that loves to compete, that's coachable, that's willing to make sacrifices, that's willing to, put the team first. I just think that's important. And believe me, these recruiters, they spend time with these coaches. Because they want to get to know the player on an intimate level. They want to get to know what makes him tick. What kind of teammate is he? And is he going to be a good fit for our program? We talk a lot about the culture and the environment that we're trying to create on campus. We want players that fit our culture. And I think that's really important. And that's why these recruiters spend a lot of time with the high school coaches asking critical questions.
Like character questions. And I think your social media page also gives you away if you're, you got to keep your social media pages clean to represent good character, I think.
Absolutely.
Just my 2 cents.
They're going to scour everything. They're going to look at as much information, Instagram and Twitter. That's why I say you got to be careful what you post, and because they're going to look at it as they follow these student athletes, and they're looking. You never want to give them a reason to move on from you to someone else, and that's why you have to be careful.
We're also learning in the sporting world you have to be careful what you email. As a former Raider, can you opine to whatever extent you're able to on the John Gruden situation?
Yeah, tragic and unfortunate and really disappointing, quite frankly, that a guy that I knew really well and played for would send those type of emails. I can only speak to my experience. I was with him a long time. I was with him in individual meetings. I was with him socially. I had, beers with him. I never once heard him ever utter a racist or homophobic comment ever. And so that was shocking, I think, to a lot of us. I think when you look at the fact that he's got a gay player on his team, he's got, I think, 75% of the Raiders are African-American players. The actions certainly don't show a person that has those feelings or beliefs, but we're all accountable for what we put out there. I think it's a lesson learned by a lot of people. I think it's important to learn from other people's mistakes. And it's sad to see what's happened to not just Coach Gruden, but the Raiders. I'm proud of how the team responded, though, guys.
Yeah,
they went on the road against Denver in the midst of some real adversity
and kicked their butt
and major distraction, and they found a way to get the job done.
Yeah. They look good doing it.
I'm going to lighten it back up because you always bring it down. With
I just thought it would,
All right, Rich.
I'm the journalist.
I'm not. What's your bet? Give me your most memorable, best high school football memory.
Oh, I don't know, Burt. I just think, I play with a lot of really good buddies, and two of them are my best friends to this day. Clayton Carlin, who just won a national championship as a defensive coordinator at Sam Houston State. He's still in the profession. Jim Knowles, a great high school player as well, went on to play at Cornell, was the head coach there. He's now the defensive coordinator at the undefeated Oklahoma State Cowboys, and they're playing really well. They beat Texas this past weekend. So, it's those relationships. People say, who are your best friends in the NFL? And I say, well, I've got buddies, but the guys that I keep in touch with were the guys that I played high school and college football with. I mean, we spent so much time together. You think about your experiences in college. You went to class with these guys. You lived with them. You ate meals with them. You traveled with them. You played games with them. You practiced with them. I mean, it's a lot different, as you know, those experiences. So I just think that I think it's not just the individual games or accomplishments, but I just think it's the time I spent with people that I genuinely really care about.
Has anyone else from Delaware ever played in a Super Bowl?
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco.
Oh, yeah.
That's my second question.
Yeah.
If you both go back to Delaware and there's only one seat left in the VIP section, and it's you and Joe Flacco waiting, who gets it?
I think it's probably the guy that's donated the most money to the university. My guess is it's probably Joe Flacco. I made some good money, but he made some crazy money.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap this up, your general, the sport. Is the sport, in your view, ascending or descending as you look at all the things that are happening with CTE and what's going on at all levels of the sport? I mean, we're part of a real big high school football show, and we're seeing some shady practices slip into our what we thought was the last pure frontier. Is the sport healthy, in your opinion, Rich?
I think it is. I don't think it's without fault. I think we're learning. I know the NFL competition committee, the rules committee, they go to great lengths to try and ensure that we're promoting player safety. I think, guys, if you really look at the rule changes, the majority of the rule changes over the last 2 decades have been to promote player safety, taking the helmet out of the game, hits on defenseless players, the chop block, hitting the quarterback low in the pocket or up around the neck area. So even in the college, so what happens is it starts at the NFL level, then it trickles its way down through the college game and through high school and Pop Warner. Even the whole idea with Pop Warner about seeing what you hit and making sure that the young players at that level are getting properly fitted for their helmets, the shoulder pads, and so I think we're heading in the right direction. I think it's a great game. I think it's the best team game in all of sports. I think it's the most popular game in our country. I get the fact that some parents are concerned, but the injuries, the significant injuries that we typically see, we're not seeing at the Pop Warner level or at high school level. I think the majority of them show up at the college game and the NFL game because of the speed of the game, because of the obviously the physical nature of the players that make it to that level. So I have 2 daughters, but if I had a son, I'd have no problem seeing him play high school football.
Well, let me just follow up on that. We'll call this the last question unless you got something, Burt.
No.
Talk to moms and dads out there, just one-on-one right now. I'm a concerned father. I have a boy who wants to play Pop Warner. What would you say to me?
Well, I'd say that, you have to make informed decisions as a parent. And, if you're worried about your son getting hurt in Pop Warner, he could just as easily fall out of a tree. I mean, he could get hit crossing the street or riding his bike by a car. At some point, we have to let the kids be kids. I think when you look and you evaluate the youth program, is it well run? Do you have good coaches that understand the game, understand how to teach the game? Is it something that my child really wants to do, or is it because the dad's pushing him to do it? I think it's important to find out what the kids like to do. I think it's important to expose them to a lot of different games. I think it's a mistake at that level to put them into one sport and to have them play that sport year round. I live in the state of Minnesota with hockey is a big deal. If you're going to play hockey here in the state of Minnesota in high school, you pretty much are skating year round. I think it's a mistake. I played multiple sports when I was younger, football, baseball, basketball. And I just think that you expose them to a number of different things, let them figure out what they enjoy, what they like, and they'll usually gravitate towards that. But I'd have no problem having them play youth football. We don't see significant head trauma watching youth football. The kids are basically running into each other. I mean, it's kind of fun to watch. But again, I think the parents have to make those decisions. But I know I'd have no problem introducing my child to the game of football.
All right. You got anything else, Burt?
No, that's a wrap. Let this poor
Mr.
man go.
Gannon, thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Run. Thanks.
Thanks,
See
Rich.
you guys. See you, Burt. Thanks, brother.